everybody, thanks for joining me once again. My name is Michael D. Russo and you're watching to Bankruptcy and Back Again, the weekly video series that we're producing to help new entrepreneurs get up and running for the very first time, or if you're in a position where you're recovering from a major financial disaster, this will give you some great hints and tips to help get back on your feet again. So this week what I thought we'd do is actually go through some information about how to accumulate assets after a major financial disaster. So what we're looking at in particular is how to buy assets after a financial loss of some sort. Now before I get through and talk to you about this morning, I just want to let you know that I have a bunch of kids running around in the other room, so if you happen to hear any overlay noises or anything like that, that's just my kids and my sister's kids and everybody else's kids who's running around out there at the moment going nuts. It is school holidays at the moment as I film this. Okay. Now a couple of things I want to talk to you about today. If you're a new entrepreneur and you're trying to get up and running for the very first time in business, often you don't have a great deal of borrowing capacity. Quite often you don't have a huge amount of capital. And so it's very, very much the same for people who are recovering from a major financial disaster and you're trying to get up and running in business and move forward again. You want to start accumulating assets and all those sorts of different things, and you have zero borrowing capacity and very little capital perhaps. Now that's where most people start, so it makes it very difficult to move forward when those sorts of things happen. So what I want to go through with you today is some very, very simple strategies. It's not going to be anything complicated, there's no earth-shattering information I'm going to share with you today in terms of fancy techniques. We leave that when you've got some more resources for in your pockets. Today all I want to do is give you some very, very simple, very basic strategies you can use to start rebuilding again. Now in talking to you about this information today, I'm operating on the assumption that you already have some cash flow coming in. Now it doesn't matter how much cash flow you've got coming in, but assuming you have some cash flow from a business that you have developed and you're generating some sort of income. You might have a service business, you might be selling products, whatever it is you're doing, you have something coming in or something about to start coming in. So one of the big fallacies that people will talk to you about when you get up and running in business again or for the very first time is they'll say to you, oh, you won't make any money for 2 or 3 years. Or there's this false belief that you have to put everything back into the business to grow the business and rebuild the business and all this sort of stuff. And the other thing is that there's not enough money floating around. Oh, I don't have enough money to make this work. I've got to keep everything I've got. Now all three of those are total nonsense. Okay, and I'll explain why. When you're getting up and running and trying to move forward for the very first time, you need to understand, and I don't want you to be offended when I tell you this, but I want you to understand that most of you aren't going to be here in 5 years' time. If you're getting up and running for the very first time in business, your percentage rate, the likelihood that you'll still be here in 5 years' time is actually lower than all of the recovering bankrupts and all of the people overcoming a major financial disaster that have already been through the war and got some scars on their bodies and they've got some stripes on their shoulders. They've got a much, much better chance and a higher success rate than the new entrepreneurs who are trying to get up and running for the very first time. So in trying to share this information with you, I just want you to understand where you're sitting, that it's very, very high likelihood that you won't be here in 5 years' time. Okay? So please don't be offended, but that's just what the numbers tell us. What I want you to understand is that for the 2, the 3, the 4, the 5, the 6 years, the 12 months that you're in business, for however long you're up and running for, you should be able to use that business or whatever platform you're developing, whether it be products or services that you're selling, to move on to the next stage at some stage in the future. Now we live in an age where it's not unusual to have 6 or 7 or 8 careers, completely separate careers over the course of your working life. Well, it's the same in business. It's not unusual for business owners these days to be involved in multiple different businesses, different industries, things like that. Okay, you don't just get in and stay there for 40 years, which is what happened with my grandparents and my parents. That was the sort of belief that they had. Okay, so the numbers don't support that sort of theory anymore. So what I want to talk to you about is, let's say for example you're in a service business and you're a tradie. Let's say you're a plumber for argument's sake, and you're obviously selling plumbing services, so most of what you're doing is wrapped up in your time. What I want you to do is allocate a percentage of money, either a fixed dollar amount, might be $10, or a percentage, might be 5%, 2%, 10%, 15%, 1%, whatever percentage it is, that gets put into an asset investment account. That particular account is designed for one reason only, and that is to buy assets that are outside of the current business operation that you're running. Okay, let me repeat that. These assets, or the money that you're putting aside into this asset accumulation fund, is for assets that are going to be purchased outside of your current business operations. Okay, there's a very good reason for that. Business owners don't put any money away in their 401k. They don't put any money away in their superannuation. They don't put anything away for the future for the most part. And unlike employees that are forced to do that, you have to have some sort of plan in place for that. And an asset investment account is a good place to start. The other reason why I want you to do it straight away, and I want you to do this on every single transaction you have in your business, is because if tomorrow the government of your country instituted a new tax, and let's say it took up 10% extra money of every product that you sold now went to the government, you would have to find a way to make it work. So what I want you to do is self-impose a restriction on yourself and say, okay, for every product I sell, if I'm selling a product and I'm selling, a product for $20 and I'm selling, 500 products a month, then every product that I sell, 20 cents is going to my asset investment account. Whatever figure you decide, you need to put that aside, either whether it's a product or a service that you're selling. Now, what are we going to do with that money? Initially, it's going to take a little while to build up, obviously. What we want to do though is we're operating on the assumption, remember, that we've got no borrowing capacity and that we have no huge amount of capital. So we're very limited in what we can do initially. The first thing I want you to do is start building up the bank a little bit. And then what we do is we start leveraging with the money that you have from one stage to the next stage. Let me give you an idea of some of the sorts of assets you might want to think about getting involved in. There's all your traditional ones, your big ones like your property, things like that, okay, that everybody knows about. You might get involved in another business, for argument's sake. Maybe you're going to buy into another business as a minor shareholder, something like that. You might get involved in the stock market. So those are all the traditional ones that everybody thinks about. Things that people don't often think about. Different assets that can help move you forward. If you write a book, if you write any sort of content that you can get published in the public forum, that becomes an asset for you. Trademarks that you might be able to purchase for perhaps even competitors' products. I had a friend of mine one time that actually purchased the brand names of his competitors' products that were competing against his company for a product he was selling when there was some problem in the company, the competitor's company, they had some issue there, and he took the opportunity to go in there and actually purchase the brands, the trademarks for what his competitors were selling, and they basically became part of his brand. So it was able for him to control his market very effectively. So it was a very, very clever thing to do. You might be looking at patents, for example. You might be looking at, when we're talking about real estate, bring it right down, because remember we're starting with very little. You might be looking at things like buying parking spaces. Great thing about parking spaces is they don't cost a huge amount of money, not like you would if you bought a house, and you don't have any toilets that need to be fixed or real estate agents that need to be paid, things like that. So taxi nameplates was somebody I met recently who was involved in taxi nameplates. So he had 2 or 3 taxi nameplates that he'd bought over a number of years. He obviously had some familiarisation with that industry, and he would lease out those nameplates. So whatever you're looking to do, you can start small and build up. You might develop a drop shipping website, something that generates online income for you. Whatever it is you're doing, you build up. The returns you get for that asset that you've purchased, you then build up and go to the next stage and the next stage and the next stage. And it won't take too long, within a few years, depends on your situation, where you've come from and how bad your disaster was. You should have enough to be able to start getting into larger asset bases. And what you want to do is start building up a portfolio of assets outside of your current business venture, because if that isn't here in 5 years' time, if you decide to sell it, if something else happens, if you get bought out, if a competitor comes into the market and pulls the rug out from under you, whatever it is, you want to make sure that the next venture you get up and running with is not such a big leap the next time round. So you've got some assets, you've got a bit of a financial base to move forward with. So I hope that is providing you with some help today. Personally, for me, I got involved in online marketing, so I started generating some revenue through affiliate marketing. I started generating some revenue through some different types of online marketing and things that I got involved with. Also, I'm currently putting aside a little bit of money, and very, very shortly we'll be getting involved in property once again as well. So it doesn't take too long to get up and running, but every transaction that you have, every sale, every service that you provide, keep aside a percentage or a dollar figure for your asset investment account. Okay. Now, just one other thing I just want to share with you. When you're trying to get things up and running and rebuilding all over again, opportunities will start to come to you. And as you know, you've heard the saying that when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. But when you're trying to get up and running for the very first time, or you're recovering from a major financial disaster and you're trying to rebuild a second or third time over, opportunities will start to appear as soon as you start to get a little bit of traction. And you need to have a little bit of discipline to follow your plan. And your plan should be build my business, get the cash flows coming in, and buy some assets in my asset investment account. That should be your plan. And every second network marketing opportunity that crops up, every second, you know, property deal that comes on the market, every second share trading, you know, super duper bonanza that comes up is not necessarily part of your plan. So you really need to have a clear idea of what it is you want to do, and, you know, some idea of how long it's going to take you to get there. And I promise you, if you just work at it slowly and consistently, you will get there and you'll succeed. And look, when you do, please tell me about it. Give me a ring, send me an email, and let me know. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you next week. If you haven't already got the funniest book on business and bankruptcy that you'll ever read, simply go to iamplify.com and type in Michael D. Russo and download your copy of Why Bankruptcy Rocks and Success is Overrated. The audio version is available right now on iamplify.com. Let me know how you go.